Hello, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Reese. I talk about books and what I'm reading, sometimes what I'm writing. Actually, that's not true. I've never really talked about what I write, but I do write. And so a lot of what I read is helping me become a better writer. Anyways, that's not what this video is about. This video is my September reading wrap-up video. We are basically in October right now, and wow, that's scary. End of the year, basically. Fall, which is a season that I love. Also, almost a year since I started this channel. I think my first video I posted like the beginning of November last year. Fun times. Yeah, no, it's almost been a year, and it's been fun. I'm surprised that I have kept up with this for so long. I mean, I've always been reading. It's more like the fact that I have continued to film and edit and all those things. I kind of want to make things feel a little cozier. Right now, you know, this is very much like where I work. That's my desk. So we'll see. Maybe a cozy spot for some videos coming up. Anyways, I will start off this video like I always do with my Storygraph stats. In the month of September, I read 5 books, 984 pages, and moods, top moods. We got reflective, adventurous, which is a new mood. 3 books were adventurous, according to Storygraph. That's kind of new. And also dark. That you'd probably expect. I read 4 fiction books and 1 nonfiction book, which I will talk about. I will start with the book that I wrapped up at the beginning of September, kind of like an August-September read, and that was The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. This is a work of translated fiction, translated by Thomas Teal, originally written in Swedish. I had heard of Jansson before. I didn't really know anything about her. She is a Swedish-speaking Finnish author, and she's also the creator and writer of Moomin and the Moomin children's novels, which I haven't read, but I know of. I definitely recognize the characters, and yeah, she's a painter and illustrator. This book follows a young girl, I think she's about 6 years old maybe, and her grandmother as they spend a summer on a small island around the Gulf of Finland. I believe it's loosely based off of the author's life. Very quiet, very contemplative, but there is kind of like a dry streak of humor in this because the little girl is very precocious, as you might imagine a 6-year-old girl could be. And then her grandmother is like kind of cranky, but in like such a sweet way. The book just is a lot of them interacting together and them going on these adventures in nature. And yeah, themes, as you might guess, nature, childhood and aging. You can kind of see the dynamic between the two of them. Life and death as well. It's really subtle. I read a description of this and it said warm melancholy, and that is like very accurate. That's what the experience of reading this book is like. I rated it 3.5 stars. I found parts of it so moving, especially towards the end. I found the beginning a little hard to get into. It was like a little slow. It is a very quiet, contemplative book, as I mentioned, so that makes sense. But I also feel like it's a book I would reread again in a few years. It's definitely one where, like, reading it at different points of your life may stir up different thoughts and emotions and feelings. So yeah, I think I'm gonna reread this one at some point. And if you want to be a fly on a wall, or I guess a branch, observing people as they go about their life and live on this uninhabited island or close to uninhabited island, pick this one up. You will forget the internet exists while you're reading this, and I think that might be the goal of some people out there. It's definitely a goal of mine. Next, I read The Salvage by Anbara Salam. This I was lucky enough to receive an advanced copy of. Thank you so much to Tin House. My first physical ARC, that was really cool. That was a goal of mine for this channel, and I did it. Anyways, I really enjoyed this. I like sped through this. To be honest, it was kind of written for me. I thought I dreamt it, and then I was like, wait a second, no, it's a real book. I am the target audience. It is a historic Gothic novel set in Scotland, featuring a archaeologist, a marine archaeologist, on an underwater dive of an Arctic explorer's ship. I mean, if you've seen other videos of mine and you've heard me talk about things like that, yeah, it was great. I started reading this on a chilly, rainy weekend. It was the perfect reading experience. So wonderful. I said historical fiction. This is set in the 1960s, and we are following Marta, the marine archaeologist, throughout her time on a small island off the coast of Scotland. There's mystery, there's suspense, a bit of romance in there, a haunting, definitely a page turner. I rated this 3.5 stars. Like I said, flew through this. I've seen comparisons between this and Our Wives Under the Sea, which I definitely can see because of the kind of like leaning on horror elements happening. But I would say this story is much more thriller and gothic, whereas Our Wives Under the Sea was like a slower paced, more like just quiet, unsettling story about melancholy, all of those things. Also, big contender in the strong female lead category, which I love reading. And yeah, you know, it's historical fiction. It's set in the 60s, but it felt contemporary. I guess it's not like that long ago, but every once in a while they would mention something and I would say, oh yeah, we're not in present day. So I would say if historical is something that's like throwing you off, don't worry about it. Anyways, as I said, mysteries around shipwrecks, snowy settings. I was so happy I had the opportunity to read this. It is out on October 7th, so that's pretty soon when this video comes out, and I think you should pick it up. I'm really looking forward to reading more from her. I looked up her book Hazardous Spirits, which is also a historical kind of like mystery gothic, I believe, work set in the 1920s around the spiritualist movement. Yeah. Next, I read The Dry Heart by Natalia Ginzburg. Also a work of translated fiction, a novella originally written in Italian. I don't know who it was translated by because it was a library copy, but I will put it down here. I forget where I heard about this book, if it was another YouTuber or if it was on some kind of like list, but yeah, this book, big Elena Ferrante vibes. If you love Ferrante, you should 100% read this. I think you will love it. I did read this relatively close to reading The Days of Abandonment by Ferrante, so maybe that, I don't know. Honestly, that book and this book felt very simpatico, so I think if you like that book, you should check this one out. It's about a young woman recounting her relationship with her husband, and we slowly come to realize why she, as stated in the opening lines of the book, kills her husband. It's both sad, angry, also quiet, fiery. It's about loneliness too, but it's interesting because we're being told this story by our main protagonist, and on one hand she's very lonely, but we're being invited into this rich inner world of hers as she recounts this story. It's a really great read. I love the way it's written in that way. The Italian title is È stato così, or It Was Like That. And when I read that, I got chills because yes, the framing of this and how it's narrated, it's so good. As I mentioned, this was a library book, but I would 100% buy this book for my own personal library. I rated it 4 stars. It was great. For the last 2 books that I read, we're gonna take a bit of a left turn. I'm gonna talk about one first that was a little meh to me, and then I'm gonna talk about the one that I really enjoyed. And I've been thinking about daily since I read it. So first, I'm kind of bearing the lead. I read The Old Man and the Sea, Ernest Hemingway. This I had put on my library holds a while ago, and then it came through and it was there and I took it home. I had read Hemingway before, but it's been a very long time. Yeah, it was kind of a slog, let's say. And that's interesting because it's a very short book, but I do think it's like a novella. It took me a full week to get through of reading. Honestly, every single day I would pick it up and I was just like, I don't know, man. I do think it's well written. I enjoy his prose. It's about, do I even have to say, an old man who goes out on a boat on the ocean to fish. And he battles with a giant marlin. It was the last major work of fiction that Hemingway published during his life. There's a lot of Christian symbolism present. I don't know. Isolation is in there. But what stood out to me most was the connection between artist and art. Like kind of wrangling with their art, the creative struggle. That was like my only note that I wrote while I was reading this book. Is this a metaphor for the creative struggle? Anyways, it's fine. I'm glad I read it. I wouldn't put it on the list of the greatest things I've ever read. I'd rate it 3 stars. And now, in the left turn category, the last book that I read in September, Endurance by Alfred Lansing. This is a work of nonfiction recounting the harrowing experience of Ernest Shackleton's 1914 trans-Antarctic expedition. I know, you're like, what? Actually, is this really a left turn? Because the reason I was prompted to read this was because of the Salvage. It's not a left turn, but anyways, this has been on my TBR for a while, and I just wanted more snowy, polar expedition situations, ships, all the things after reading The Salvage, so I finally thought it was time to pick this one up. And what a ride. I probably can't recommend this book enough. I think I've recommended it like 4 times to people already. This book has been recommended to me. Yes, the story. 20-something men attempt to cross the continent of Antarctica, but they get stuck in the ice on their ship on the way there. They're in the general area. They're around it, but they're stuck in the ice. And as the ice pressure moves in, they have to abandon their ship, travel over the ice, hauling all of their stuff and these boats, and then they have to put themselves in these tiny boats that they took and sail hundreds of miles to safety. And you know what? this is not a spoiler because it tells you they all survived. And the reason this book was written was because of their, firsthand accounts, their journals, everything. That's the story. I ceased to exist while I was reading this book. I was so invested in the story of their survival. It's so well written. It's insane what they go through, and like the detail, because they had the journals. Yeah, it's one that I stayed up past my bedtime to read. Like, it was like well past when I would normally be asleep at 1 a.m. and I was like, okay, but I just want to find out what happens in this one part. Yeah, it's split into a couple different parts. I've been thinking about it pretty much daily since I read it. And it's also pretty neat because this book was written in I want to say 1968, 58. I'll have to put that on down here. But it was kind of a influential book in the world of adventure journalism. So if you have read or know of Into Thin Air, I think that was written more in the 90s. But anyways, it kind of kicked off this whole like adventure journalism genre. I think if you want a gripping nonfiction book, read this. They're also, the guys in the guys on the expedition were like kind of a cast of characters, so yeah, check it out. And those are the books that I read, that I finished in the month of September. What am I reading now? I started The Anthropologists. I am actually like 15 pages from finishing this. I was going to include it in this video, but I think I'm going to save it for next month just to see how things wrap up. But yeah, I'm loving this book. I really love this book. I love the way it's written in these kind of vignettes. We'll talk about it more next video. Yeah, and then I think after that, I'm gonna pick up Frankenstein, part of my personal reading curriculum. I made a video on it, last video I made, I think. And yeah, I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to take some notes on that. I'm also excited about the Guillermo del Toro movie that's coming out in this month, October, I think. So that'll be fun. I'll definitely read the book before I watch it just to, prime myself there. That's it. That's what's up with me. I don't know. What are you reading? I'm curious what you are reading, as always. And as always, also, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you are having a great week, weekend, day, evening, morning, anytime. I hope you're having a great time. And yeah, thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next video. I hope October is gonna be a good reading month. I don't know, I feel like I'm on a bit of a good reading streak. I mean, minus The Old Man and the Sea, I guess, but anyways. Okay, thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.